Call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone, thanks for coming out tonight to their August monthly meeting of the RMB. Please be aware that our meetings are live streamed on Facebook and belfast.com. Comments are not monitored in real time during the council meeting. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that the land upon which our organization stands is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Abogway, PEI, Mi'kmaqi is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship, and we pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this land for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. Declarations of conflict of interest. Do any members of council have a conflict of interest with any items on today's agenda? Any other suggested items, agenda items for today's meeting?
There's several.
Catherine?
What? Okay.
So, I guess the first would be a CDC statement. The second would be, just a clarification statement explaining, just say counselor clarification. And then additionally, I have a personal statement I'd like to make at the end.
Yes, Trish.
We talked about the CCBF meeting next week. So I knew that.
Anything else? Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented and amended? Moved by Trish,
I move.
second by Lynn.
Second.
Is that okay to go that order? Or do you want them reversed?
Keep as is.
As is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. RCMP report for the month of August. Ashley Teska?
All right, so Constable or Sergeant Robinson couldn't be here tonight, but he did forward us a copy of the report for our municipality for both June and July. The stats are still very low, and we are actually lower than we were last month. So keep up the good work, Belfast, and let's kind of stay on this track. That's it.
Thank you.
Copies are in your package.
Yes.
Public presentations, if any.
We have Robert McDonald on the list already, who had asked to be on the agenda, and then anybody else, if you want to let us know.
Sean Vincent?
John Vincent?
Sean Vincent. Thank you.
I just wanted to remind all the speakers that there is a 5-minute time limit for any presentations. After 4 minutes, I'll let you know that there's 1 minute left, and then when your time's up, I'll bring up the red card. But after that 5 minutes, then the members of the council will have an opportunity to ask you a question or clarification, and so then we'll carry on from there. Thank you.
Good to go?
Welcome.
Thank you. I got a couple things I'd like to get through tonight. Maybe I won't have time for the second one. But anyways, I would like to know if anybody in council is aware of the rules and regulations regarding vehicles on beaches.
I was told it wasn't allowed.
Okay?
Last year we had an issue.
Well,
I can speak to, if you like.
go ahead.
Okay, so apparently there is rules and regulations with the province about ATVs on the beach. And in regards to when a community member, if a community member on, if any community member brings forward a concern, you may remember in the strategic plan that RMB passed a year and a half ago, that if there's a community concern that they want to raise, they have the ability to contact RMB. If at that point, what we would do is we would tell them what the procedure is, who they should contact, all that sort of thing. If they don't, for example, there was a number for unsightly lands that they didn't want to put their name to, but they wanted RMB to report to the province, we then mentioned it to the province. If somebody stays anonymous in their report, then we do not file an additional, or we don't file any kind of official complaint or report. Depending on what the complaint is, we will notify the agency, let them know this came in as a community concern, and that they could look into it themselves if they felt they should. But for our part, there's has been no official complaints raised.
Okay. No, the reason I bring this up is because I had the unfortunate experience of having been called by the RCMP 2 Friday nights ago. Somebody in the community knew my name, knew my phone number, and said I was driving on the beach with my side by side. And I said, no. So I was. I said, I'm not going to argue with you. I said, I'm not going to argue with you because I don't want an argument. I am allowed, by law, I am allowed to drive on the beach if I'm operating a motor vehicle on the beach for the conduct of activities related to the legal harvesting of a fishery resource or the legal removal of beach material. I clam, I fish, I'm allowed. So the reason I asked the question because I'm not saying this as a bad term, but newcomers to the area seem to have a different idea about how we need to work in this community together, and they don't know the rules and regulations. And in case somebody from council got a call, I thought it'd be a good idea for you guys to know what is allowed and what's not allowed. The RCMP officer did not even know, because he questioned me. He said, he asked me, he said, so were you on this beach this afternoon with your side by side? He said, yeah, I was. He said, well, we had a complaint, you're not allowed to do that. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure I am because I know the law. And he said, well, if you were allowed, then maybe it had to do with the size of the tracks on your side by side. And I said, no, got nothing to do with that. I said, I'll talk to the local CO, conservation officer, and he'll give you a call. And I called Luke right away, and he called him, and it was all settled. But if anybody would like information, I brought enough copies of everything for everybody to see, so you have.
I can take
Okay, we put that on our website.
Yeah.
Facebook page.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, thanks, Robert.
It seems like you knew what to say back to them, though, like you were.
Oh yeah,
real
no, I
time
mean,
there.
it's
Yeah. They were
some people like to
there.
call
Yeah.
the authorities, call a counselor rather than talk to me personally. I don't know why. I'm not hard to get along with. I'll explain to them. You know, it's just the way some people are, and I don't understand that. It's something I don't get along with.
Well, it's a pretty common practice of people going down to the seashore to collect grass in the fall to deck their houses with.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, until the province blocked it off, Cecil Pauli used to come down with a loader and used down below the shore of Selkirk Park because there's a huge amount of bluegrass there that builds up on the shore and it stinks.
Yeah.
And he used to clean it up and haul away in trucks.
Yeah.
And then there was a beach, that's been blocked off now.
Anyway, I just wanted to, I didn't know who knew about this, but in case you got calls from people complaining, this is what's allowed. You can deal with it right there. That's all there is to it. There's pictures there of aerial photographs of the two properties at the end of Storm Point Road. One is ours, one is owned by somebody from the States. I have no problem with people being on our beach, no problem whatsoever. But if you look at those photographs closely their aerial photographs, property maps. The property to the east, it shuts off all access to the beach. And we've had the experience for the last couple of years, we've lost access to a couple of beaches around here because people have bought them, and that's fine. Both parties that I know of told me, I don't mind people being on that beach, but please respect it. In both instances, they were offended by what happened on the beach, so they shut off the access. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but on our side of the beach, I don't have a problem. I pick up the garbage that's left there. But if somebody from away buys the property to the east of this, don't be surprised, but this council's gonna have to deal with that. Okay.
Appreciate it, and we'll put it on the website as well. Thank you, Ron.
Yeah. The last thing, I don't want to belabor this, but the experience I had last Wednesday night here was not a good one. I had 3 calls from the people, 3 of the people who made presentations there. I know these people. We've all lived in this area for all our lives. They were extremely offended. What went on there was embarrassing. Our community should not be held up like that, represented like that. We need, you need, to put some severe thought into how you conduct those things going forward. And I think I did mention that I really hope there was a lesson learned here tonight. If CBC calls looking for information, you don't have to talk to them. I have no comment. It's a perfectly acceptable way to respond to something like that, especially when you don't have the information to give them to properly explain what's going on, which was very obvious that night. People came to that meeting expecting answers. They didn't get them. And I know the meeting was premature. I know he's not ready, and I know he's all meant well. That's fine, but going forward, I really would ask you to think this through more thoroughly before you put on an episode like that again. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Robert. Who's next? John, want to be next?
Hi, I'm Sean Linson, I live up in Newtown, and I have a neighbor that's driving me nuts. He likes to play his music day in, day out. I live probably 300 feet from him, and I can be in bed with the air conditioning on, my TV on, and I can feel my heart thumping with the music across it. So I called the cops. We went over nicely and asked him a bunch of times, and he just says, go home and insulate your windows. And now he's got it on his thing there. He's holding an M16 with his kid on his Facebook, and he said, if you don't like my music, shut your windows. So I'm not allowed to sit out in my deck or work out in my yard or anything. And he's got, like, my cousin owned the property, and his pin is right in the middle of his driveway, and all them buildings he's got campers he's got, it's all on Visser's land. And he had a dumpster there one day full of old paint cans, and he dumped it in the ditch and buried it for a culvert. We called environment, they came out and said, you can't do that. He said, oh, I didn't know, and they walked away. So that's in our groundwater. That's on Visser's property. And I'm going to environment, I'm gonna go see Visser's first before, if they wanna get that cleaned up before they get the lawsuit. But the guy, he's out there, he's got motorcycles, no mufflers on, and he's just revving that, he tunes at 2 o'clock in the morning. Because he says he can't sleep, well that's, my son has to go get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go fishing, and if he can't sleep, there's gonna be trouble. Anyway, I went over the last time, and I took anger management twice for PTSD from the fire department and my son growing up. And I held my thing, he got the point, but Karen asked him again, then he just put on that, if you don't like my music, shut your windows. So I called the cops, he heard it's up as far as the Black Fox Manor. Larry Gay's niece is there, she can hear it. Randy can hear it, Paul can hear it. You can hear it. Jamie Nichols can hear it in the Cove sometimes.
Yeah.
So the cop came and he heard it. He said, there's absolutely nothing I can do because the community has no bylaws. So what do I do? Because it's getting to the point where he's going to get hurt. And I told that to the cops and they said, well, it's not worth it. I said, no, it's not worth it, but it's like that, the army, they drop that water in your head just for torture. It's like that thumping. Even when it's not there, you can still hear it. It's just to that point. And he's that kind of fellow, like if you say anything to him, he's like a little kid, he just defies you, he's not stable. And there's a whole other list of stuff he's doing, but the cops can deal with that. Anyway, what can you guys do? Is there any laws or?
We can talk with the province.
I heard they issued a cleanup order there. See, the grass is up around the windows, the sides is all up the house. He's got a camper or a van trailer there he made into a house. He's paid one tax, and he's got like 5 properties going there. Like, the place is just a zoo. Well, the zoo, there was a cow at my road, cops came, no. I took a picture of, no, it's not on the pavement, they wouldn't do anything. I said, well, somebody's gonna get killed. There was a horse, you get pigs, they're all over the country. So something's gotta happen.
I can give you a little bit of background. First of all, the municipality, the rural municipality of Belfast currently does not have an official plan and development bylaw. So we don't have those kind of bylaws that you're talking about in place at the moment. So it's actually not our jurisdiction at the moment. It is currently the province's jurisdiction. And so it would be somebody in the province and or federal government that you have to talk to. So what we can do, if you send us your email, Sean, we will get you some contact information of people that you can contact. I know that, in my opinion, contacting the RMB was the right way to go. We would follow up just to find out if there is a provincial tie that you would do with those, because like you said, it's most municipalities have a noise bylaw. This one, so right now everything is handled by the province for us, or anything that is normally municipal. So we can look into that for you and provide you with some
So you
information.
just want to repopulate the whole community, and you don't have a clue what you're doing now. There's got to be something you can do other than that, because I'm going to kill them. That's what's going to happen. It's going to come down to that. I'm going to snap.
It's
and
on live stream.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I know, but
I told the cop the same thing.
I'm just, yeah.
Just whatever.
Okay. Anyway, Sean, if you give us your email address,
Don't want it on.
we can send you, or we can look into it for you. Thank you.
Do we not have any bylaws at all?
No.
We have some.
None.
No.
We have no bylaws.
No, we only have legislation provided through the Municipal Government Act.
That we can develop bylaws.
We can develop bylaw with approval from the province.
But we don't need an official plan to do that.
I'm pretty sure we don't. We just haven't, as you know, we only just got into the Municipal Government Act legislation, so the municipality is still evolving.
I know, poor Sean, like, you're in a terrible position there.
Yeah.
You don't know a little bit about
You get driven out of Stratford for the same reason too, so.
So,
We used to
but
be-
we are able to develop bylaws.
We are able, but we don't have that bylaw in place.
Why don't you take a look at some of the bylaws that other municipalities have got? Then get 2 or 3 sample ones and send them to us.
Is there no provincial sound ordinance? I'm pretty sure.
That's what we'd have to look into.
It's like 10 or 11 o'clock, the cop said, he said, we're just making a number. So I told him 11, but then he goes to 2 and he gets in trouble and it's a losing battle. And he can't move because who's gonna buy it?
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Darlene?
Thanks for letting me speak. I'm well aware of
Darlene,
Sean's-
could you just say your name for the record for all the
Sure, yeah.
people on?
Darlene Compton, the MLA and Speaker of the Works Assembly, President of South Connect. I am well aware of Sean's problem, and I know it's great to say we're going to have an official plan and bylaws, but the province has a very hard time enforcing the bylaw, the plan and the acts that we have in place. And I know we've discussed this back and forth, and it's really the RCMP that needs to step in, and that's not really working. But and again, if we're going to have bylaws, that's great, but who's going to enforce them? So that's something I would stress. It's really difficult. I said with a number of the laws that we have in the province, it's really hard to enforce those as a province. So as a small municipality, it's like who's gonna take that on.
And certainly that's a huge question, because even with some of the animal bylaws, you know, you hear them going from municipalities, not talking our municipalities, but other municipalities where they actually have a bylaw officer, and it escalates to the province, and then it's not even teeth at the top. And so that's something that, you know, it's a concern that, okay, we do our part, we do this, no one's there to back us, so how do you manage that?
Well, that's a very good question, and we asked that about a number of issues that we deal with provincially, and the teeth is not there, and the enforcement is not there. We just do not have the staff provincially to make sure that, you know, we can enforce all those rules and laws. That's not really what I came here to talk about, but I know Sean's concerned, and we've been back and forth about that. I just want to clarify, the meeting that was here last week, I wasn't able to attend, but there were a number of statements made that were not truthful, is what I'm hearing from the department. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the fact that the municipality was portrayed as feeling this was going to be something that was shoved down our throats. It is not. I talked to the minister again this week, and he has confirmed that for me. It's not an exercise that I think we need to go through right now, but that's my own personal feeling. Annexation of communities surrounding Belfast is something that I don't feel we need to look into right now. We've got other concerns in our area, and I think one of the big concerns, and I see it's not on the agenda again, is the ferry and what is happening with the ferry. Someone on the council was indicated that, was told that we were going to have a ferry in June. The ferry is still in Norway. It's a huge concern. So I think that the time that you're spending on annexation could maybe be directed into some other avenues. I was embarrassed for our community, and to have a meeting on a beautiful night during Old Home Week was, I don't know whether it was just, we'll slip it through and no one will notice. It was not appropriate. A number of people have called me concerned and embarrassed for our community. So I don't know where that is going to go, and I look forward to discussion later on in the meeting, but I will also bring forward the fact that as a municipality, we need to ensure that we keep that ferry running. I've been working with the province, but it is a federal, right now it's in federal jurisdiction, but that law is diminishing returns. If it's not reliable, people are not going to use it. If people don't use it, we don't need it. And that, to me, is a concern for all of Eastern PEI. So I just want to come here and voice my opinion about that. The fact that the number of people that I talked to outside the municipality of Belfast who didn't know anything about this beginning of this process of annexation. And I mean, to get that message out is really difficult. I know that, because you need people engaged, and if people don't know anything about it, how do they get engaged? But I would just suggest that if you're going to spend time, productive time as a council, that maybe you look at the ferry and what we can do as a municipality to ensure that the word we're getting from the federal government is, in fact, the truthful word, you know. And I don't know, we knew, meaning my husband and I knew when it was announced in the spring, there was no way that ferry could be here. There was just no way, because of the work that had to be done to it. And the fact that they're going to spend $100 million to convert it back to diesel is deplorable. And how can we as a community, you know, get that message across? Because we're touted as this green province, and we're ahead of a number of places around the world. And why are we not making that move towards having a green ferry? So I just wanted to make that statement, and thank you for all your work that you're doing. And but people are listening, and I think it's important that you get that message. So thank you.
Thanks, Darlene. Before you go, I don't know if there's any questions from council.
Oh, yes, sure.
I'm going to make a couple of comments on that.
Sure.
Because I don't think any of you are aware of my involvement a couple years ago. But I'm very, very aware of a lot of it. I can tell you with 100% certainty that it is a 100% federal political issue. Could be solved by our member of parliament. It could have been solved years and years ago. And I've been having some discussions with some people that were fairly knowledgeable of it. It gave them an issue to run on the same ferry every 4 years. And that could have been solved 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if there would have been the federal political will to do it. And the province made a terrible, terrible mistake when they signed away the constitutional guarantee of that fixed link between Wood Island and Caribou on the other side. They did not have to do it. They were pressured by Straight Cross to do it, and Lawrence Macaulay's office knew it, and so did the provincial politicians at the time, because I brought to their attention. They may not be aware of it, but Joe Giz, who was known as a constitutional expert, he wrote an opinion on that. And he wrote that this was a separate guarantee, every bit as enforceable as the one between Cape Clementine and wherever it is on the other side. And he, in his interviews with Jack McCann before he passed away, he did happen to say that that was one of his big regrets in life, that he never stood up and stood for defending the island on that. And I think the government kind of got blackmailed into signing that guarantee away up this end. John Aspen told me that. He showed me probably one of the only people who's ever seen that operating agreement, and has seen the original constitutional guarantee, because he had them. And that's why he asked Joe Giz to give an opinion on it, if this was a separate agreement or not.
I appreciate that, Jim, and I know we've had that conversation before. The other thing I will remind everyone is we do have a fixed link, but it is aging too. And if something happened one of those spans, we would be in a dire situation. Look at what happens when they close the bridge during the winter for 2 or 3 days, and look at the grocery stores and how we have empty shelves. And we need to have a reliable, consistent ferry. So I know it's not just up to the municipality, but I think we as a municipality need to put pressure on the federal government. And I'm now having discussions with the provincial government about what we can do with the feds to turn this around, because it's slowly dying.
The real problem is going to come in 9 years when the bridge is turned over to the ownership of the federal government. Pressure's going to be on to reduce that in total $20. And you tell me what the hell's going to happen up here if the privately owned corporations running between here and here. That needs to have that constitutional guarantee reinstated at this end of the island, because it's a lot easier for government to deal with that than it would be to deal with a big subsidy for a privately owned company.
Anyway, I won't take any more of your time, but it is a concern, and I just want to make everyone aware that we need to discuss it as a municipality and move forward in the way that we can.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Yes, sir, go ahead.
My name is John Clements. I'm a former Chief Conservation Officer both here and in Ontario, originally from Montague. And thanks for giving me a moment to speak. One recommendation, and from listening to Mr. McDonald speak, that may be beneficial to the council is to ask for Locke Jones, Sergeant Conservation Officer, to come and do a presentation to the council about the Environmental Protection Act and the laws therewith. I think it would be helpful for everybody in the council to hear that. And then rather than just putting a little piece on your community website or whatever, he can answer some questions. An example of that is a member of the community asked me if I knew who to talk to over some land that was just cleared down the road here. So I asked the conservation officers, because I know them all, hired most of them, and they went and looked at that property, and that property does fit inside the Environmental Protection Act guidelines. As to the issue of enforcement, be careful what you ask for in bylaws. The cost to hire an officer is about $180,000 a year to cover everything, wages and all that. I had that conversation this week too, so just be careful of what you ask for, because sometimes what you get is not really what you need. And, yeah, but I do agree there's some bylaws. I might be able to help you with the contact in your issue. See you before you leave. Just from past history. But thank you very much, and I think it would help you to talk to a conservation officer. Have them come here. They're paid to do that. Darlene can make that happen. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I made a comment.
Yes, Jim.
I appreciate what you just said there. It's going to become a real issue if we develop an official plan where we take over complete responsibility for the issuing of not only of development permits, but also for the enforcement of it, because it becomes very, very costly for a municipality, and all we're really doing is taking over all of the responsibility that the province currently has, and it's being downloaded onto these municipalities. It does not work in a small place like this. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I concur, and that's the conversation that I've had just recently with some people. Yeah, it's very costly. You have salary, you have a vehicle, you have fuel costs, you have leave, and vacation, all that, and clothing and all that.
It's just one of a number of questions that I'm putting to the minister. I wrote him a letter the other day, and there's a whole lot more coming, and these questions are very, very important, and we cannot be jumping into this. Because you're right, it's very costly to import bylaws.
Be careful, I know the deputy justice too.
I used to.
Joe, my son.
Would you mind giving us Lock Jones's information?
Oh, no, I'll sell him down the river right quick, yeah. No problem. I can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it would be beneficial. He might send another
Yeah.
officer, but
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful. Robert's right. Robert is.
Information that you can give our administrator before you leave?
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, John.
okay, thanks.
Next. Anybody?
I live in both communities, this year, community of Belfast, and also live in the community of Brooklyn, which was amalgamated in Three Rivers.
Sorry, could you state your name?
My name's Rob Martin. Robert Martin. Yep. We own land in Mount Vernon as well as we own land in Brooklyn. And we own two homes, one in Brooklyn and one in Mount Vernon. And our amalgamation process, what happened with Three Rivers, it's abominable. We've got permits that are not being issued properly. We've got things that are behind by months and months and months. We've got bylaw enforcement officers would have no clue what they're doing, and I can prove that. My daughter just got an issue. We spent $360,000 in Monaco to buy the property that was deemed commercial to put her business in. And today, we have a license from the province to run her business in the town of Monaco. And today they asked for a secondary permit. And then we're gonna fine her per day, so much per day till the license was done. And they didn't tell us how much it was. They didn't do any of that. And they have to go put her business now through the process of going to council to say if she's been there. She's been in business for 5 years within the town council of Monaco. And now they're gonna ask her, after spending $360,000, whether she can run the business. So the Three Rivers thing is a real good thing for you guys to look at, because it's a real issue in Monaco. It's not working. Living in Brooklyn, we get nothing for our tax dollars, absolutely nothing. I have donated to the rinks, I've donated to all of them. I've put my effort into every one of them, and I've put time into everything that comes up on council. And I've looked at this, and there's no advantage to it. The only advantage to it is the poor people who live on the outside, but have been here for 200 years. My grandfather came here from Scotland when they ran us out of there. Well, guess what? The king should not run us out of our community. At the end of the day, that's why we came here. We came here to live free, and we came here to be on our own rules. And we don't really feel like paying for a golf simulator for Belfast. I'm sorry, but send it back. Send it back. It was a bad business decision, and it shouldn't be on us backs to pay for it.
I think
That's one thing.
Belfast Community Development Corporation is a separate corporation with no connection to the municipality whatsoever.
No, but
And I believe that
when we know-
the people who made that decision as board of directors all resigned. And that's one of the reasons I think they realized it wasn't a poor decision.
Okay, as long as it is. On the issue of Mr. McDonald was speaking about, I know fellas would go on the shores with four-wheelers, and they have to have a clam pack. They can't drive the beach without a clam pack. And if you got a clam pack, you're allowed to drive the beach. No one owns from high tide.
Clam what?
Clam pack. A hoe to dig the clams.
Oh.
If you don't have it, you can't drive on the beach. You're gonna be fined. If you have a clam pack, you're legally allowed to do it. So, and nobody owns from that high water, tide water line to the water. So you can travel any part of it, any citizen of PEI around our island. That's another issue around here. In your situation, Sean, I would put up a bigger blaster that's louder than his and let him hear it.
Church music.
Whatever it is. No, but if you got an idiot, you have to face it with an idiot's problems. At the end of the day, asking that RCMP lady to deal with it is not really fair. They're gonna go in and deal with it. If an idiot's an idiot, you put him in his place.
I don't know, give enough rope and
So
angle,
that's
so.
part of my feeling.
There's a lot of discussion that has
Yes.
to take place before we begin with the official plan, and that discussion, as far as I'm concerned, has not even started yet. And being the administrator of the Regional Service Center Montague for years of issues of permits, I'm very well aware of the issues that can arise if you do not have proper understanding of development bylaws, and also, we also knew at the time what ones to sort of just slip by.
Oh, yeah. Building permits. Building permits are a huge problem in PI right at this present time. We talked about the National Building Code coming in 5 years ago. There hasn't, now they're rubber stamping it. People are building stuff that's not fit to be put up at any person. And I'm serious, it's terrible with the rubber stamping this stuff. And we talked about there being a national building code. Well, there's no national building code because nobody's enforcing it. At the end of the day, if you want a code, you have to enforce the code. You have to understand how the thing's built. Eric, you built it for a living. Wasn't it you? Or was it your brother? What? You built for a living, didn't you?
I do?
Yeah. You understand, you see some of the work that's out there. And if nobody enforcing some of this stuff, it's astronomically bad. It really is. Stuff which you shake your head at. And then with becoming a bigger municipality, some of these things don't make it better, it makes it just bigger. It makes the problem larger and you can't enforce it. The province isn't enforcing it, so don't think you guys can either. And you just don't have the money to do it. 57,000, I believe, is what that enforcement officer is in Montague for to drive around a government-driven car, and 12 employees to the town of Montague, what are water and flowers at the end of the day. I don't see a big benefit to it. And especially, I can't get my flowers watered in Brooklyn. I don't know why they don't show up. They're dried out like prunes. So, you know, and I'm part of that community, but decided to amalgamate. So if you're not gonna come and water my flowers, don't bother with mine.
Well, fortunately, I think that the Premier came out and said he's not going to force annexation on anybody. And
Yes.
that's one of the reasons why I decided that that's one committee I want to have nothing to do with, because it's never going to happen.
No, it shouldn't happen.
Well, it'll never happen.
I hope so. And the other thing with, another problem with Fairview, I hear that thing needs to draw 22 feet of water. And I hear that's gonna take a 2.5-year dredging process. And nobody's addressed that.
Is that the new ferry?
Yes. It draws deeper water. And no, that's been kept quiet. So anyway, that's part of 2.5 years farther into the thing from what I hear. That's just rumors. I don't know if it's right, boys, for people. But if it draws that much water, where are we gonna put the thing? How much are we gonna spend down there? Where are we gonna go with it? And we're not gonna have a service. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone? Anyone else? Mr. Blue, would you like to speak to us tonight?
No, we are gonna address my concern, I think, in item, item 12, so I guess I'll wait.
Just wait to see how it plays out?
What's that?
You're gonna just wait to see how it plays out?
See how it plays out.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Adoption of the June 19th, 2024 council meeting minutes. Previously distributed, all changes have been incorporated. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the June 19, 2024 council meeting as presented? Moved by Lynn. Second by Billy. All in favor? Nays? Motion carried. Business arising from the June 19th, 2024 council meeting minutes. Adoption of the June 26th, 2024 special council meeting minutes. Previously distributed and incorporated all changes. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the June 26th meeting as presented? Trish moved. Lynn second. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Business arising from the June 26, 2024 special council meeting minutes. There isn't any. Okay, CAO report.
Thank you, Worship. Just wanted to go over the financials. As you can see by the variance report, our bank account is exactly where it's supposed to be at the moment. And if you look at the revenues and expenditures, they're also on track. One of the things you should know is that when the province gave us what to expect on the assessment numbers during the budget figure, it later came in a little bit higher. So there's basically we're receiving an extra $2,000 a month from the government in assessment fees. And then there's in the report now, which under new, you'll see where it says new. Basically, we had talked about the fact that we may get generator funding. Well, that funding did go through, so now it's showing an in and out because the funding was for our secondary warming center. But other than that, all of the financial expenditures are on track and in good health at the moment. Any questions?
Okay, our official community plan and development bylaw, CEO Bob Brooks.
Okay, I'm going to read this out for the benefit of the people online. It's the official community plan and development bylaw. Prior to the September 21st public meeting regarding resumption of public consultations for the draft official plan and draft development bylaw, Council will be briefed by GPI Lands and PEI, a contracted PEI Rural Development Officer. The process was Fulton has revised the draft documents based on the comments heard from the public and council in 2022. Now on the RMB website for further public review, council and the public will have another chance to voice concerns or comments for further documentation and changes as required. Based on the findings, council will have the option to accept or amend or decline or accept for information only. This matter is expected to be decided upon in this fiscal year unless council believes much more research is required. And I can let you know at this time that I've also been doing, while the development officer was looking at the official plan and development bylaw, I've been looking at the business side. As Garth will remember, and some of the older or previous council members, when we originally started this process for an official plan and bylaw, it was a requirement of the Municipal Government Act. And then in 2022, they came out and said, well, we're not sure anymore and we're going to put a pause on it. Since that time, we found out that they had planned to do a land study, and or they might be talking about extra funding, maybe for communities with a official plan and bylaw. That hasn't been confirmed yet. And then I was also looking on the business side. So first of all, there was the requirement side from MJ, which is now on pause. And then there's the business side, because what we had found out in a subsequent meeting was that the province, it wasn't merely us getting the development permits and looking at the project and getting a proposal. Now there was also more things that the municipality would have to be concerned about, like enforcement, which we talked about here today. And so I was doing some business research with some other communities to find out exactly what the business case is, because originally we were led to believe that the amounts of money that we might see from the development permits may cover the cost of doing it or come close. Based on my business research, that's not even close. It could be in a matter of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year more, depending. So, what I'm recommending is that we do have a meeting with the province on the 19th. And then we're going to be hearing from the public on the 21st about the plan that's out there now. That way we can then discuss where we want to go from there. Remember, the last thing I had said is that you, based on the findings, council will have the option to accept or amend or decline or accept for information only. The only other criteria in there is that we receive funding from the Infrastructure Secretariat. So whatever it is that we decide to do, we have to fill that contract in the process of doing it. So what I will be recommending after the September 21 meeting with the public to find out if they even like the plan that's in front of us, or if there's way too many rural issues not addressed in it, that council will then have the topic in front of that to see where we go from there. Okay, so that's the latest update. Did anybody have questions? Jim?
At the last meeting, I made a request that since the council decided to hire this community development officer to look at the Port Hand report, and I made a simple request. I said I would like to see if there is any mention of bylaws that are above and beyond that's already contained in the Provincial Planning Act, the Environmental Protection Act, and the Lands Protection Act, and all other statutes that are already in place that we have to enforce if we developed an official plan. And was that ever done?
Yes, when I contracted the rural development officer, I had mentioned that he wanted to make sure that, first of all, that Fulton had addressed the legislative requirements that were in the contract. Secondly, they were asked to look at whether what was being presented to the municipality was merely a template for urban or many municipalities, and did it specifically speak to rural issues. I've since found out, and we're just about to present the report to council. I just have to finalize the document. However, there apparently is a whole whack of things not addressed to remain as a rural municipality. So that document that we'll be going over is there. So the question about the legislation and what you had raised, I believe, is in that report. And then if it's not, those questions will also be able to be answered when we speak to lands in the next few weeks.
Because what I saw when I reviewed stuff, all I saw was that they copied the Provincial Planning Act and presented it as their own for $40,000. I wasn't too impressed.
Yeah, what we had found was that it was more of a template. Three Rivers had a similar problem, but they ironed out some of the things in their official plan and development bylaw. And then there was other communities that had a similar problem as well. So, like I said, on the 21st, well actually on the 19th, you'll get a chance to hear from the development officer, and you will also get a chance to ask those exact questions to lands. And then on the 21st, we'll hear what the community thinks about the plan, and then council can decide how they want to proceed, if they want to proceed, and or whatever options they want to look at.
Well, I have a lot of questions that are going to be directed towards them at that particular meeting. I've been very quiet up to this point.
Yep.
But
I did pass on the questions that you had already sent to me.
that was just the beginning.
Yeah, so if there's any more that you want to give me to pass on, it would be better if they know what the questions are ahead of time so that they can actually give you an answer. If they're given the questions at the last minute and don't know the answers, then they'll just say, I don't know, we'll have to look into it, and then you won't get your answer. So I would encourage you to send me whatever questions you want to ask them so that they have time to prepare a response.
Well, everybody knows my feelings on
But they don't.
the appropriateness of an official plan for this municipality.
Thanks, Jim. Anybody else have any questions about that?
Just one question, Bob. I think that we had a discussion when we talked about the requirements of the agreement that we have for the funding for the bylaws. And I think the last time we spoke that the expectation was that we would have bylaws and the plan adopted by March 2025. Not saying that that couldn't be changed, but that's where the current date is in regards to infrastructure secretariat.
Yeah. Okay, but I should clarify. So basically, I had also gone over the contract that we have with Infrastructure Secretariat, and I believe by having the plan, accepting it for, well, depending on how we decide, but okay, so let's say we didn't like the plan and we accept it for information only.
That
Then we
fulfills the terms of the agreement?
that will, in my belief, it fits in with the terms of the agreement.
Okay.
Because we have completed the contract with FOTAN and we've accepted it for information and can use that
In the
for future determinations.
I like
However,
hearing that.
I'm just throwing that out there because council hasn't had the discussion.
Okay, perfect.
Anybody else got anything? Okay, number 12, annexation exercise.
So, do you read that section?
So if you want to read that, and then I have my own
Okay.
statement
Okay.
prepared.
So I'll read the preamble then for the people in the audience. Annexation exercise. The Annexation Subcommittee, ASC, had a well-attended public meeting on Wednesday, August 14th. Due to the considerable public interest, the meeting was live streamed on Facebook. At the time of this agenda, there were over 1,700 views. Now it's over 1,800 views of this meeting to date. The reason for such interest, CBC saw that RMB was convening a regular ASC meeting as posted on our as posted on our website, and requested an interview with the committee chair and CAO. A comprehensive interview of approximately 45 minutes was given that explained RMB's plan to start a process that would explore whether there were some unincorporated communities that surround the RMB borders that might be a candidate for annexation into RMB. It was explained that we had not started yet, that we had yet to hire a contractor, had yet to acquire funding for the project, and that after possibly 1 to 2 years' work of consultation, RMB may have a proposal for annexation. They may not, but only after considerable consultation and only if it made sense to RMB and to the unincorporated communities that might be selected. Unfortunately, the CBC 45-minute interview resulted in a 3-minute clip that incorrectly left people with the impression that RMB had completed the project and we were ready to make a decision, which was totally false. That was the reason 40+ people showed up at the meeting, and so many have looked at the Facebook session. The chair of ASC, Councillor Catherine Bryson, will now discuss what happened at the meeting. Jeff.
It was I who brought the restructuring issue forward and take full accountability as the chair of the committee of anything that has ensued since its conception. As a council, minus Jim who voted against it, we decided together to form this committee based on the information provided to us. We saw the threat to our municipality, to everything that we were trying to achieve, and attempted to act proactively to get ahead of these proposed plans made by those sitting in their city offices envisioning things for our region. Do we have missteps? Were there things that we could have done differently? Absolutely. Were those intentional? By no means. I'm incredibly disappointed that it seemed to people that we had made a decision without consulting them. that we were ever hiding information. And that is as far from the truth as it could be. These exercises are painfully slow, and despite us having worked on it in our committee capacity for the past year, we are still in the very early stages of collecting information. There was a plan that if we as a committee decided to recommend to council, and only after that, that council decided to go forward with the community consultation stage, that we would have done just that. We, at that time, if we had chosen to do so, would have had all the information available. All of the options and all of the details. And in the end, we only ever would have brought in any new community only if they were mutually agreed upon. At our last committee meeting, we didn't have all the answers, but I tried to convey that information that we did have. I also want to defend and justify my decision, and my decision alone, to take the CBC interview. I was given 20 minutes notice to come to the office for it, and I never hesitated. In fact, I have never shied away from any interview because I have nothing to hide. I want people to be aware and understand what's going on in our community. This interview especially, I didn't hesitate to take because I wanted CBC to have the facts, to have the whole story from its conception to where we are now, and that is what I gave in that interview. The mistake I made was in trusting that the journalists would include all of the information, that they would do their job as we do ours. This wasn't our experience with the CBC journalist. This article was fun and made it seem like we had reached the end of the exercise, that we were holding the community consultation meeting, trying to slip things through, and that we wanted all public to attend. In reality, every single one of our committee meetings have been public, and that is something that I, as chair of this committee, have insisted on since day one. Last Wednesday, I was asked if I had learned something, asked if I should have said no to this interview. And yes, I have now learned that you can say no to an interview. Naively, I've never approached it that way, but it will forever be more hesitant moving forward. However, I want to commend Rachel Collier, Josh Lewis, and the staff of the Eastern Graphic for always going above and beyond to provide the facts and the true story. This wasn't the first interview that I completed about the annexation exercise. On December 6, 2023, Rachel Collier published a piece in the Eastern Graphic about this process, and she did an excellent job in providing the facts. I should note that following this piece, we didn't receive a single angry comment, email, or letter, but instead had a phone call from someone asking how they could have their community included in the study. They wanted to become part of Belfast. This past week, I have been under an incredible amount of stress. During the 24 hours leading up to the committee meeting, I have been thrown nasty comments, which were directed at me personally. I have been accused of many things and harassed by a number of people, many of which, should I add, live outside our municipality and the areas included in our exercise. I held it together as best as I could, but I entered that meeting in a highly stressed, vulnerable, emotional state. I tried to represent the facts to the best of my ability, counter misinformation, and explain everything in detail so there were no questions left on the floor. I expected hard questions. I expected frustration, but I didn't expect what I received in that meeting. For 2.5 hours, I was deeply disrespected, mocked, emotionally battered, insulted, and called names, and had numerous double standards thrown upon me. Additionally, there were individuals who were physically threatening to me, which was the most concerning of all. Ultimately, under those conditions, I broke. I couldn't hold my composure, and I became emotional, to which I was mocked mercifully for. It was after that meeting that I learned that there were serious threats made against me both before and during the meeting. I tried my absolute hardest to have these people see me for who I am, to relate to them. After all, it wasn't that long ago that I was at a committee meeting in their exact position, frustrated myself. I allowed them this space to have their voice heard, often at the expense of completing my own sentences. There were many in that crowd that didn't listen, that didn't want to listen, who were there to cause a scene, and they did just that. To council, I'm sorry that at that time I didn't represent you to the best of my abilities. I was not prepared for the disrespect I received, and at the time I used all tools I had to defuse the situation. Ultimately, I failed in controlling that meeting and conveying our message. As the chair of that meeting, I take responsibility for this and apologize. Moving forward, we need to have many discussions as a council regarding our role in this exercise, what it is we're trying to achieve, and ultimately, if we are in a position to do so at this moment in time. All questions we would have been looking into regardless of the outcome of the meeting last week. I'll now open the floor for council questions and comments.
So I will say that Catherine has been very steadfast and clear in her intentions to be transparent in all things with the council. After last week's meeting, I reviewed all our meetings about this topic, and Catherine has never wavered in her intent to be transparent. So I do take offense on her behalf of anybody that accuses her of being underhanded, sneaky, or not being truthful. The meeting was pre-scheduled, as it has always been. There was no intent or any evidence of it being snuck through or under the radar.
I concur with Charlie as well. You've always been clear, and you've always tried to you approach this as trying to look at the preventative of what if we're amalgamated with another area that has septic and sewer, that would be then a responsibility of our municipality, that would increase our taxes. And instead of having to be put in that situation, you truly have the municipality's best interest at hand and looking for alternatives that would be not looking at taking over a large infrastructure such as sewer, and how can we do this if we need to move forward. But at no time have we said we're going to do this. It's always been an exercise of, if push comes to shove, what's our alternative before being tied with a larger or a smaller municipality that has infrastructure. And I'm sorry that happened last week.
I feel bad for you, but last week if I would have been here, living in both communities, one was around me, I understand the fact that it's not working well for us. We have a lot of problems with it, and it's not serving our community well. It's giving a higher tax base. When the tax freeze is off, we're gonna pay the same tax what we pay in Montague as we do in our areas, and we don't get the services. So anybody was out in Mount Vernon, anybody was out in the backwoods is not gonna get the services what you can when you're in the community. And I do believe in supporting residents. I do believe in supporting the community, but I don't believe in annexing something. I know how Montague felt. It was sold to the government as it was going to be a good thing. Well, it wasn't a good thing for the people. It was more for the politicians and more for raising taxes. At the end of the day, it's just put our taxes up over a longer time. If you look at the whole thing and through it, we're going to pay more again. And I'm sorry, but it's the facts, it's the reality.
And
the
what
annexation doesn't do anything for us.
And what your examples earlier is one of the things that we had talked about early on of, I'm just going to use the Murrays with sewer and septic, that if we're tied in with them and all of a sudden we sign that contract and then tomorrow they've got a major sewer break because it's old infrastructure, we're responsible as a municipality that doesn't have this infrastructure. And so I think that's where it's like, okay, if we're forced to amalgamate with a situation like that, that is going to increase our tax, and that's something that we don't want. We want to keep Belfast as rural as it is. We want to keep it the way it is. But if we're going to be forced by government above us to do something, then let's try and get ahead of it and go, okay, well, can we look at the communities that don't have this infrastructure, that want to stay rural, that want to stay as is? And I think that's, where the intent was right from the get-go. And how do we not raise taxes? How do we not change the ruralness that we already are? Because we all love it. We moved here for that reason, and we want to keep that. I don't want to live in a large city again. I want to keep it the way it is. And, I think that was always the intent from this committee. I'm not on the annexation committee, but from listening and talking to them, that's always been the trend, is how do we keep the municipality as rural as we possibly can?
It's not to go through.
It's not an easy thing.
No, but it's not to go through the process. The process should be eliminated. We shouldn't chop it off Louise and Montague. And we should have said, no, we don't want it. We had 4 communities before that worked well. And now we're fighting for different dollars from different communities. One fire department wants this amount of money, the other one's getting that, this one's not getting this one's not getting that. And it doesn't work. Right now we're into, and government, but government likes to take and amalgamate it all together so they can pay us less dollars. And that's not our priority, it's the bureaucracy of it. When they get in there and the ministers decide whatever they're gonna do and put it to our politicians, well then, it's hard to figure it out. And it's not their fault, but if we're naive and we agree to it, we're gonna be stuck with it.
You know, I think I've finally had a full circle moment with all the comments Jim has been making about the MGA. You know, we're having all these things pushed on us, the official plan, the land bylaws, you know, the threat of amalgamation, annexation, restructuring, whatever you want to call it.
We're starting.
And we just, it's hard. None of us have the political experience to handle these things. And it's being forced on us. And we don't have the services, we don't have the lawyers, we don't have the staff. Our staff is fantastic, but we don't have the resources.
Well, I felt right from the first moment on council.
Oh,
Jim?
I'm sorry, I thought you were finished.
Order.
Alan, Mr. Blue, you have.
Just 2 quick points. One, the meeting last Wednesday night, I think the people that were affected should have spoken to Councillor Bryson at that meeting. Some of the really contentious comments were from people who don't live in the affected communities and don't own property in the affected communities. And I think it took away from people, you know, I got up to speak, but there was other people who would have spoken, but the time was taken up with, like say, people who, they live in another community and an axe to grind with them, and they were here taking up the time, and some of the most heated comments were from them. And the second thing is, where you're wrong, if you'd approached it like Hopefield in the first place and asked us, I can tell you that there's nobody in my community that supports it, and will give you a
Petition.
a poll of the community signed, the name just left me, to tell you that we're not interested. But when you're talking that Belfast is afraid of amalgamation, well, it's a forced marriage with us. I get up in the morning, I read in the you know, it was in the Facebook post, but it was the clip off of another page that you know, that you're considering annexing this, and it was the first I'd heard of it.
Yeah.
I'd never heard it before, and I find I've lived here, you know, all my 62 years. I work for government, and I'm a student of government, and I find that these things, if you don't nip them in the bud, then it's the time for us to do it. Hopefield isn't interested. I can tell you that Little Sands isn't interested. There may be one person that called that was interested from those communities, but if you go around, and all it did was just put fear in people's mind, because everybody's got lots of things to worry about. I'm not going to spend 2 years worrying about whether or not we're going to get annexed. We'll nip it in the bud before we have to worry about it. But again, the meeting that night, just in my opinion, the affected people should have spoken. And if you're from Three Rivers and it's not working out, and you don't have property in Belfast, you know, in this proposed municipality, I really don't think that let's say the ones that were really upset didn't have any arms and fire at all that night, really.
And to be honest, Mr. Blue, we weren't there yet. This would have been asked or invited to talk about it, but we weren't there yet.
But you've been talking about
You
it.
may be right, we should have probably went there.
If you've been talking about it for a year, then you were there.
No, we weren't even close.
No, but how long have you been discussing it?
We've been just trying to get questions, we've been at it for over a year.
Yeah, well, if you were considering Hopefield, we shouldn't have told a year ago.
Well, there was nothing being considered, we were just feeling out our options and doing some.
And again, that's what I have nothing against Belfast. It's wonderful people. My mother-in-law lives in the best community care facility in Prince Edward Island, Belfast. Beautiful place. We have nothing in common with Belfast to join.
And that might have been our bad. We should have went out to the communities and asked maybe the residents at the get-go. But We didn't,
And if
we
the
were there
proposal is
yet.
going forward, and Hopefield is still there, well, then you'll have to hear me every time you set the meeting, tell me that Hopefield don't want it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. But lessons learned, okay?
Yep.
We're sorry.
Well, no,
Yes, sir.
it's not something you gotta apologize for, this is all new
This
for
is
everyone.
Thank you for the opportunity, just to, Catherine's comments. It takes a big person to apologize in public, so kudos to you for that, I wasn't at the meeting. The other thing that I think the council should consider is having one point person for media relations. So if the media calls, it should be one person. There are courses you can take for media relations. I've dealt with this gentleman right here before, with the graphic. I was pretty frank with you, wasn't I? Don't burn me and we'll have a chat.
There is a
But
media
some,
relations person dedicated for that, but
Yeah.
he was unable to attend.
okay, well then probably nobody should have spoken.
It's a good time to say no.
Just have to say no, and I've said no
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
in different roles. They don't like it, but that's your prerogative to do. So it might have saved you a whole lot of misery. The other thing I just wanted to say, and you said that you had threats towards you. You had threats towards you, you need to be talking to the RCMP. There is no place to threaten anybody anymore. Those days, that ship sailed. So if that has happened, I would encourage you to do that. I'm very sorry to bring a tear to your eye, but nobody should have to put up with that. And council should expect that the RCMP are notified about any threats to anybody on the council. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Jim?
I'm glad that Darlene is here tonight, because I got a few comments to her. And it's concerning the whole, from my first time that I was introduced to the Municipal Governments Act, it became very, very clear to me that this was an exercise driven by urban planners in Charlottetown that do not have a clear understanding of the rural site and what it means to live in a rural community. They're trying to drive a square peg into a round hole. That's not to say that there's not a Municipal Governments Act that would work for small rural municipalities, but what we see right now is not it. And I think the government has even acknowledged it because I think they realize what they've got, their hands stuck into a hornet's nest because it keeps moving timelines back and back and back and back and back. And at some point, the politicians, the saving grace that I've always said to this council all the time is that at some point the rural politicians are going to get involved, and that is going to quash the whole thing. So there, Darlene, start anytime.
I appreciate the comments, Jim. And I mean, we're talking about a very unique community because we're largest geographically, but with the smallest population. So, how do we look at getting to that critical mass that we need to make any of what we're talking about viable? I think that's part of it. And if you're looking at, if you're thinking like the River or Murray Harbor are a threat because they have stored water, you drive how far outside of Murray Harbor and you're no longer in the municipality. You know that. Is it half a kilometer? No,
Half a kilometer.
Half a kilometer. It's very, very small, but has stored water. I don't think it's going to be an issue in any of our lifetimes for the community of Belfast. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, there is no drive or push or pressure from the current government for any municipality to take on something that they don't want to do. So I've had that conversation with the minister over and over again. We're in government for another 2 years, God willing longer, but right now we can say we're not doing this. So, what will happen in the future? The Municipalities Act is something that, we have to deal with, and I know many of my caucus, and I'm sure some of the opposition too, who live in a bigger center would look at things differently, but I myself will stand up for the community and continue to do that, and I will continue to do it. I mean, it's just, you can't, as Jim said, it's a square peg in a round hole, and, what do we need to do to ensure that we keep our own sense of uniqueness and still be part of the province. But
Appreciate your support, Brendan, thank you. Next is Lynn.
I just wanted to kind of specify, just like Charlie, we support Catherine 100%. There's been transparency, she just read everything in detail. And unfortunately, some things get missed in the public, and it's a learning curve. And professionals were once rookies too. So we all make mistakes and we all learn from them. And I don't believe she's ever had a negative media experience. So taking on that interview and having it turn out the way it did would not have been on her radar. Now it is. So moving forward, it's a silver lining. But negative comments and threats, not acceptable. I, for one, watched the meeting online. I wish I was here. Very disappointed in the comments, the negativity. You think you know everything, but then something like this happens and you learn even more. So we're all on a train and we're going forward from here on in. Catherine is a great leader on this project, and we're very proud of her. All of us on the council are 100% behind her and back her up and support her every day.
Just on the line of threat or thereof for amalgamation, those lots that are up on the Selkirk Road, that who was it in Lance that said that those were set aside for us?
That was in Selkirk, that was the area between Three Rivers and us.
So the other side of this.
When Three Rivers were doing their amalgamation process, and this is hearsay, we were told, because we asked Three Rivers, well, you've got these 3 or 4 communities that are within your fire map, why were they left open and not included in your amalgamation? And that person said, well, we're leaving that for RMB. And we said, well, nobody told RMB, and nobody asked us, and that discussion was not part of the public record. So anyway, we were left at the process that there was some communities between RMB and Three Rivers that are unincorporated that were rural in nature. So the committee said, well, we should at least look at these communities to see if they are a good fit, see if they want to come over, or they may end up going over to Three Rivers after all, or being left as an unincorporated community. However, almost every municipal councilor involved with the Federation of PEI municipalities believes that at some point those unincorporated communities are going to be assigned to somebody. And so we were trying to be proactive, and we were trying to have discussions with the municipalities to see if there was benefits to both RMB and the unincorporated community. And if there was, and if they agreed, then we would include them in the proposal. If it didn't make sense, the idea was that we were not going to include them in the proposal. However, we haven't started yet. We don't even have a contractor yet, so we hadn't got to the stage to even ask the community or even find out the information that we needed yet. It was only because of proximity to say, okay, these ones are rural, they're close, we should at least look at them and have discussions with that municipality just to see if it's gonna work. However, we're not there yet, and based on what's going on, council is going to need to have a discussion about how we carry on, or if we carry on.
Jim, make a motion. I really think that we should just dissolve the annexation committee. It's just gonna be a great big headache. It's gonna be nothing but bad vibes. And it's not gonna happen.
Are you talking about dissolving the idea of the annexation, or just the committee?
I think we just dissolve the committee. At some point, it's gonna make sense, maybe in the future, but it's just an exercise in futility, I think.
Okay, so you would need a seconder for that motion.
It'd be not hard to get that.
I would second it.
Moved by Jim, seconded by Charlie. All in favor?
Oh, no, discussion.
Oh,
Would,
can I step on this? Because, like, yes, I do agree with it, but I feel that it's up for the annexation committee to make that decision. Like, it's their committee and they have all this information. Are we jumping the gun and not letting the, I'm sure that you would like to have this discussion with the committee and.
Well, all three of the committee members are here.
I just don't want to take this out of your hands, this is your, you probably want to have some loose ends, have some further discussion. I don't know, but I don't know if this is taking us away from me.
For procedures' sake, what was supposed to happen at the next ASC meeting, and it could have been an ASC meeting or a council meeting once they have all the information in front of them, to discuss the scope of the project, whether they should be going forward or not, what community should be involved. Right now it's got the entire picture, but it could be saying, well, maybe to start with it should just be these 7, or I'm just using a number, and they would make a recommendation then, and then council would say yes or no, or amend it, or whatever. The other process is that at a later date, like not tonight, because there's information that you need to make that decision, that you would say, well, do you want to carry on? Do you want to do it in a smaller scope? Do you want to do it at a separate timeline? Because there's also, in that equation, because you're looking at all 17, well, geez, the contractors are coming in at huge amounts of money, much more than we had envisioned. So there's a whole bunch of work that needs to be done. So basically your question is, are we going to carry on with annexation at all? Or if you're just going to, with this motion, basically if you get rid of the ASC committee, that means all of the ASC, or all of the annexation work will now happen in all of the council meetings. If that's what you want, then that's what the motion will do.
I think it reflects the fact that I don't believe that annexation is ever going to work. And so I don't think we need to be beating a dead horse and causing a lot of frustration to councilors. I think that Alan Blue said it best. He said, like in Hopefield, Wood Island, which are his 2 communities, nobody that supports it. So why do we want to beat our heads against the wall? At some point in the future, maybe the situation is going to change a little bit. This is nothing that has to happen today or tomorrow or the next week or even next year or the year after. There's a time and a place for everything. And right now, I don't think that annexation is on the table.
So the question to you, June, then is what you're really saying that we should stop the annexation exercise process altogether at this point? In which case, what would happen is the ASC committee would automatically be dissolved because there is no annexation exercise. Or are you wanting it to go to council so that they can handle the annexation exercise? Because your motion, basically, the way it's written right now would mean that annexation exercise go to the full council to deal with on a monthly basis.
I don't think we're going to deal with it. There's nothing to deal with.
So I
You're not answering the
second,
question, Jill.
yeah, so I seconded the motion because I think that if any further exploration of annexation takes place, I think that the council as whole should work together, and that maybe it's better, it's more
The motion is
beneficial.
correct in your view.
For my second, that's what I seconded, is for any further annexation discussions to take place at the council.
Okay.
I would like to see that the communities that are going to be affected have a say in it before it goes to any other further movements.
We haven't,
We're not
I mentioned we
there yet.
haven't started yet.
No, what I'm saying is if there's an annexation that happen, the consultation should go to the communities first.
Oh, they
Right.
will.
Okay, so for
But I think that the
clar-
point is that there is no annexation happening.
so for
Nothing's-
clarification.
It's an informational exercise.
Well, that's what we're told in
I know,
law.
I know. I know. It's
So really.
it's purely an exercise in
Robert, for
information.
clarification, in order for us to ask all the communities,
Yep.
we have to hire the contractor first, and we have to hire or get the funding to do that, and we have to, at present, it's saying we should be asking 17 unincorporated communities, but I don't think the council actually wants to talk to 17 communities. I think they want to do a lesser scale, so before we can make the decision that you suggested, we would have to bring it to council to, first of all, see if we're proceeding, at what level, and in what time frame. So everything that you just said is correct, just premature, because we can't do that until we take it to council and ask these other questions.
Well, there's multiple ways to skin a cat for sure.
Yes.
There's nothing that says that we can't consult with the community before we do any of the other steps. Would it be wise? Would it be what council wants? There's no rule in place that says that we have to follow this prescribed list before we do something, before we consult with the communities. So
That's what council would determine.
yeah.
Mine was to hire a contractor before he decided to do it. Like that's, you never hire the contractor to get money to pay you for something you're not gonna do.
That's exactly
Just
right.
what? Sorry, yeah, paid to do nothing.
Okay,
Sometimes the writing's on the wall.
In order to contact that many people though, we have to, like, it's gonna cost money, and their intent is to
No,
find.
it's not. You tell them to come in here and sign the list if they don't want it, at what odds. We put it on Facebook, we put it online. You want it or not, this is the vote.
There's official ways
Sign your
it has to
name,
be
say
done.
if you don't like this in your community.
Yeah.
Please,
But
please sign your name.
just to identify one small
Sure.
possible flaw.
Yep.
The annexation exercise has been on the website, on Facebook, and there's lots of people that didn't see it. So there needs to probably be a little bit more thought put into making sure that everybody is notified. Because as what's been demonstrated here in the last week, what we're doing isn't working. So it might not be as simple as that. It might not be as hard as other people think, but definitely some thought needs to be put into it to make sure that every reasonable effort is made to contact every single person in that community and not just a public broadcast.
If I might speak again for Hopefield, I'm so selfish, but I will go to every house in Hopefield and I will give you a yea or a nay with names attached to it. If that puts it to rest, if Hopefield's not interested, I'll poll every house, and that's better than your hired contractor's gonna
Thanks, Alec. We have your name and phone number.
do. Yes.
And the same for me with Mount Vernon and ours. I own properties in both spots. I'll do the same for them. And I'm sure I can find one of the neighbors in one of the other communities or whatever.
okay, can we get this back on track here somewhere?
So.
We have a
as-
motion on the floor, am I correct?
I think Catherine would like
Yeah,
to.
so as chair, like, I would appreciate that approach, you know, regardless. You know, it very well may be completely out of our scope, and now is not the time to be considering it, but I would like to have backup. And I think, you know, we all, minus Jim, voted to form the committee, so I think it would be really beneficial for us to have those discussions, to determine what we want to do moving forward as an entire.
100%,
As an entire
we'll
council.
take it on as a council, not just one person.
Any other discussion items?
Okay, motion on the floor is to,
Dissolve ASC committee and turn the project over to council for
Council.
now.
motion, as you heard, has been read. I need a mover and a seconder.
We have Jim and Shirley.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, Councilor Carter, Shop Belfast update.
So, the Shop Belfast is carrying on. We've got 1 month left on getting stamps in and getting the votes submitted. We have seen a significant decrease in the numbers of participants. Unfortunately, it's tourism this year is not so great on the island, and we're seeing it in the stores. As a business owner myself, I'm seeing a significant downturn as well.
Can I just pause? It's really hard. Like, I'm sitting right here, and this is really hard to hear. So
Jim.
until we have all of our council back,
Yeah, we've
can
lost
we
Jim.
pause? Because this is a very important initiative that we've done.
Yeah, thank you.
Pause, Trish, you're important words. Pause.
Okay, so we've lost Councillor.
Thank you, Charlie.
So I guess we'll wait.
So we're waiting for Jim,
No, you don't wait.
or?
It's just
We're
like
not
as
gonna
if
wait?
somebody went to the bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Okay, so Jim's left the meeting, so I'll carry on. He may be coming back. So Shop Belfast, unfortunately tourism is down this summer significantly on the island. It's talking to other businesses, it's actually worse than last year when we didn't have a ferry. So it's been a disappointing summer. Shop Belfast campaign is being well received by locals, but we're not getting the people that we're hearing about the ferry the ferry being out of service and coming from, Charlottetown or west of Charlottetown. And so we're not getting the numbers, unfortunately, but it is still a lot of people that are coming out and going, hey, I've not been there. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that restaurant's new. So it's still being well received by the locals, but it's been a very disappointing season for a lot of businesses in Belfast. And if I may, to everybody that's watching online, if you're going to choose to go to Charlottetown and support a big box, please think again and support somebody within our community. We're all there for you. A lot of us are supporting other businesses in the community, and just try and support local as much as you can. I know going to Belfast to Charlottetown ticks off a lot of boxes that you may do all in one day, but you know what? We are a community. It is a great community. Let's make it better and dig deep and help in a not so good season. So that's my update. We've got 1 month left to go on the Shop Belfast campaign, and then next month after meeting we will be drawing the lucky winner of the $500 Visa gift card. So there we go. Good stuff.
You gonna have press then?
Huh?
Press.
Thank you. Trish? Okay, number 14, excused absence for 4 separate regular council meetings in 2025.
On Monday, July 29th, Councillor Bryson met with CAO Bob Brooks to discuss the process for an excused absence. Councillor Bryson just received her schedule for her university classes for 2025, and it turns out that 4 dates conflict with 4 of the regularly scheduled council meetings in 2025. Those meetings yet to be approved. The Municipal Government Act requires that any member of council will require an excused absence from council to avoid being penalized. In the case of 3 absences in a row, Councillor Bryson is requesting an excused absence for the 4 consecutive absences as follows, if these dates are adopted by council in November of 2024. And I should say that dates that are listed below are the same third week third Wednesday of every month, which is our council tradition for the last 10 years.
Council agrees you could change our meeting.
Oh, yeah, if required, or whatever, but that can be done at a later date. But since we don't know that yet, it's better to approve those dates in principle, and then if there's something else that you want to do. So basically the process that MGA allows for, if somebody just didn't show up for 3 meetings in a row, then that would be called unexcused absence, and they would be removed from council. If they give council notice that they're going to be away and for the reasons, and council decides to give them an excused absence, then that rule does not apply because council has been made aware. Councilor Bryson has also made it apparent that she is still conducting her council duties as required throughout the month. She just can't show up on those particular date nights.
Just change the dates.
So-
Copycat.
Yeah, but we haven't decided what those date
Yeah.
nights are yet.
So Catherine, if they were a different Wednesday, would it still be conflicting?
Yeah, so I have,
If they were
I
a
have
different
classes
day
on
of the
Wednesday
week?
night.
Yeah, if it was
Yeah.
a different day of the week,
yeah.
it might not conflict?
Right. So that's why we're asking to do this for the dates in principle. Just to, because she's notified council that she's has a problem. And so when we have this issue on the agenda in November, if you like, I can do a solicitation of council to find out if other dates work for them other than a Wednesday night.
I'm going to accept.
Okay. I'll second.
This is volunteer, and I feel it should not interfere with bettering your education. So good luck in your courses, and you'll keep quiet.
Do we need to vote? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
All in favor?
I,
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, number 15, the Municipal Emergency Management Plan, Administration Ashley.
I'll be brief. I talked to Belfast Rec Center and they are ready to go in case we have a weather event. They are diligently testing the generator every Monday to ensure that it's operational and ready for us in the event of an emergency. The generator on site at this location at Wood Islands Market has also been tested, and training on how to use that generator has been completed. You all have a copy for council only of each other's phone numbers and emails, as well as your positions within our plan. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me for clarification, and I'm happy to discuss. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. New business for the agenda, as discussed and approved for, as in item 3, the Selkirk Road concerns, update, Lynn.
Alright, so, my recent update was on July 18th with, Michael Stewart. He's the assistant engineer on that project. So as of July 18th, the speed surveys were completed and they were compiled on that morning. The collision data and volumes at the intersections are still in process. And the beginning corridor analysis is now in effect after those other surveys are complete. So there's a ripple effect of things that has to be done, obviously, when it's roads. I notified him on July 18th that there was a motor vehicle accident on July 17th, that some people went to hospital. He documented that and he was adding that to the study that's in process. But just kind of need, it's gonna have to go into the data, so
Yeah.
they don't start over with that, but definitely add it, because that's another unfortunate event at that intersection. So I'm happy with him keeping me in the loop. That was a month ago, so I think we're doing pretty good. I'm very happy with the update.
Before you move on, Lynn, just a related question. We get calls at the office about the conditions of the roads. Would he be a good contact if we want to report a bad road, for
It
example?
would probably be a different department, because it would be he's infrastructure and analysis, if it's just like the road itself is breaking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it's paving and,
So he's
I
on
could
the-
definitely touch base with him, because,
Just to find out who we should
yeah,
contact.
it wouldn't be his department, but I'm sure he would have to document the condition of the road, but
That
it
would be
all.
great if you.
Yeah, that'd
you
be
were
nice.
there.
Contact MLA.
Darlene?
We'll CC you,
I
darling.
think that paving has already been allocated for this year, but
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, there's a maintenance supervisor though that.
But yeah, that wouldn't fall under.
So not Darlene, is that correct?
Sorry?
There's a maintenance supervisor that, like if there's something, an issue with something somewhere that,
If it's an email to me, then I can forward it on for you, or email.
okay,
But yeah, that probably wouldn't be his jurisdiction because he's
yeah,
analysis.
we were just looking for Perch, is
He was
Perch
a
still?
Yeah.
Perch?
Yeah,
Terry?
yeah, is he still the supervisor?
No.
No, okay.
Wrong, you go home.
Oh, yes,
Only about.
okay, don't go further then, we need your
I'm still talking.
Belfast days.
Yep. So just because we haven't had a meeting since before Belfast Days, I just wanted to give a very quick update on how successful it was. It was attended by many, it was great food, wonderful donated prizes, largest parade to date, great weather, lots of helpers. The Belfast Consolidated Grade 9 class of 2025 started their fundraising by working in the canteen. The fireworks were amazing. The harness races were amazing, and we provided prizes to all 6 races, and we presented a cooler to the winner of the final race. And it was nice to see some of the residents of the Gillis Lodge got to get out and enjoy the races as well, and have a snack. And I do believe, if I missed any, I'm sorry, we had 25 funding sponsors this year, so that was our biggest, and more for next year. And on to my next thing, we were able to give $1,300 to Make-A-Wish that was earned in that weekend.
Wow.
Donated to Make-A-Wish.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And the Little Harvest Town News.
Yeah, so this is something new and exciting that I'm gonna take on. So our family has started something new that's gonna be happening in September, so you'll see it. And as everyone knows, we have pumpkins and we have sunflowers. And so now we're gonna have the Little Harvest Town in our pumpkin patch. And what that is it's gonna be a play yard of fall-themed inflatables. So I've been working on this for a really long time. It's gonna be kind of an attraction when people come get their pumpkins. And it's gonna be a play area for the kids. So we've got 15 different things gonna be set up in our field.
Oh, wow.
Tim is building a actual red barn to be our little Harvest Town barn. We have signage that's gonna go up in our field with it. I'm really excited about this. It's gonna start the 70-mile yard sale weekend on September 14th. So the traffic will be big. So I'm gonna start promoting it now that I announced it, but it's just a project I wanna do just to really bring people into our pumpkin patch.
Didn't have enough to do.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't have enough to do. Anyway, just
Still
like any
something to do
other
in your spare
thing.
time, is it?
Yeah, it's a learning curve, it's new, and I have to see how it goes, but I'm really excited, and we've got some really fun things planned, like inflatable slides, pumpkin bounce, we've got a cow belly bouncer. It's all farm themed, so I think it will really be something nice for the community, and hopefully draw a lot of people. I've already had people from Stratford, Charlottetown tell me they're gonna bring their kids out. So I'm excited. Stay tuned.
Okay, community pantry update. Thank you, Lynn. Catherine, are you ready?
Yeah, that's me. So I did reach out to Bonnie because there have been a lot of, I hesitate to use the word theft, but individuals have been charged. So I asked her if there's been any misuse of the pantry that she's aware of. So this is directly her statement. We have no reason to suspect any theft or significant misuse. We're not watching the cameras, but if there's ever a concern, then we can look back on the video and have no reasonable concern at this time. We did feel that a couple people seemed to be repeatedly taking more than their fair share, but we try not to judge. It seems a couple signs at the pantry and a Facebook post regarding that has taken care of this for now. But again, she wanted to stress that she certainly wouldn't consider what they've seen as theft. She also said that a lot of people are dropping off fresh vegetables from their gardens now, which is really great to see and greatly appreciated. So that was the bit from Bonnie. I also just want to send a big thanks both to Bob and to the PI Rotary Club. The pantry was the recipient of a very large grant, and I can't remember.
From the Rotary Club of Charlottetown,
Rotary Club of Charlottetown, and what was the amount?
$4,800.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So we were really, really pleased to see them show that kind of support for our rural initiatives. So big thank you to them, and thank you for Bob for asking for it. And as always, I just want to thank the public for their generous donations, both physical donations and monetary donations. It's only with their support that we're able to continue this initiative. That's that.
Okay. Apartments at the Legion, Councillor Bryson.
So I just put this on for clarification because social media is messy. So there were a lot of questions. I don't have the answers just regarding what's going on at the Legion. So I was just hoping if anybody knew tonight, they could clear that up.
It was a 6-unit apartment.
I think Darlene held her hand up.
Well, I don't have a lot of information, but I know Riley Construction is the contractor building 6 units, and there is space there for more. I'm not sure what Matthew's going to do, but it's an initiative that he has taken on as a private company, and I think it's wonderful that someone local is going to provide some more housing in the area. So I know he was worked with members of the Legion to make that happen, and there's I think 4.9 acres of land there, so there's really good opportunity, and yeah, it's great news.
The need, Doris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darlene. Thank you, Catherine. And what's next, Bob?
Also, Catherine has 4 statements. One is a CBC statement first.
Is our media consultant going to get all this down correctly?
I trust that. So, there's been a lot of discussion behind the scenes this past week. I was asked to bring forward the request to have an official statement, written and released from the office regarding the CBC publication. So I guess I'm just asking for that.
Did you say someone requested you to do that?
Well, not suggested.
I'll suggest it.
We can certainly do an official statement from the office if council is good with that. And it will actually be under Garth's signature if he likes what the statement says.
All in favor of that?
Okay. Motion.
No, call for the nays.
It'll be done. Nays?
Who's it going to?
Okay. I will write it up as an official motion and show it as 5-1.
Did you vote, Jim?
Jim
No,
asked
because I didn't
for,
understand what
he asked
who's
for
it going to? Who's the statement going
It's
to?
a public statement.
It would be okay, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Catherine, but I'm assuming it's a public statement that we would put up on our website
What's saying the CBC?
about what had happened with our interview and the resulting hardships. And I will, when I'm drafting the document, I'll be consulting with Catherine and with Garth to finalize it. Is that what you have intended? Yes?
It was just something to have,
I have some thoughts. My initial thought is not to go ahead with something, but if we did go ahead with something, I want all of council to have a say in what's being said. I think it would be wise for us to maybe take some time to think and discuss before we commit to making a public statement. Maybe we do take suggestion of, having a point of contact. I think that it probably wouldn't be a bad idea for us to maybe even establish a media policy. But I definitely am not in favor of making a statement right now.
If Garth is okay with that, I can certainly pass a draft on to everybody and
That'd be 2 days.
suggest, what's that?
That'd be 2 days then.
Even with,
Could that just be
even
kind of
with
reworded, let's
the document going
discuss
through
the-
all council?
Kind of what Charlie suggested, that we kind of
I
revisit?
don't mind if it's a draft, but I think that, if we would need to all agree that we like it and it wants to go out, not, we're gonna do it, everybody gets to look at it, but we're still doing it whether people don't like it or not. So I'm okay with, a discussion of one being drafted, but all council has to, at least
100% approval?
a majority needs to approve. And, or maybe even unanimous, because it
Yeah.
is, you are speaking for all council.
The unit, yeah.
In which case, if it is a council decision that you want, I'll work through the draft over the next month, and at the next council meeting, you can finalize a yay or nay.
And we could have some conversations over email before the next meeting as well, we don't have
Okay.
to wait until then, because I think that probably, if it was decided that it's a value to make a statement, there's probably some degree on sooner rather than later. Having a statement 60 days after something happened is probably not as valuable as something a little bit closer to when it occurred.
But it would have to be, if we're talking about a decision, any council decision has to be made in public in a council meeting. So we can't make a decision over email, so we can do all the preliminary work, over email, but we will then bring it to the council meeting for a decision.
Okay.
And
If
yeah.
that's okay with everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's better, yeah.
I like the idea, like, I think we very much need to have, a discussion around media, and I don't know if it has to be a formal policy, but we need to have a plan moving forward, because this has been a wake-up call for all of us, so it's not getting that situation.
Definitely have a list of which media we don't talk
Well,
to.
just a,
Which person we don't talk to.
just a
I-
due diligence.
Company not included.
I can put media
It's
relations
not necessarily a company,
item
but
on next council agenda for discussion.
So what's the motion?
Well, the motion would be to draft up an official statement in regards to the CBC News article, that it will be discussed with council and brought forward at the council meeting on September 19th.
And does it need to say in the motion that it needs unanimous?
Well, you can decide that at the council
Okay.
meeting.
Next.
Well, I think that we need to do
Yeah, you have
a proper.
Oh, yeah, you have to vote.
Oh, there's a
Well,
vote.
actually, that was the motion, and
We need a
because it's
seconder.
now been clarified, we need a mover, a seconder, and the vote. So it's moved by Catherine.
A seconder,
I'll second it.
seconded by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays?
Jim said no.
Nay. One nay. Yep. Okay. Okay, thank you. Next.
The next item on the agenda was a clarification statement by Councilor Bryson.
This is something, I think we've said many times, but I just want it out there again. I feel that there's a large misunderstanding of the role of a counselor, and so I wanted to address that and clarify. Counselors and mayors are elected positions, although often in small municipalities these positions are claimed, meaning that there are only enough applications as there are seats available, and therefore there's no actual vote. In the case of this current council, all positions were claimed. Anyone who is a member of the municipality is entitled to put their name forward as mayor or councillor, and councillors do receive a small honorarium, slightly over $1,000 each year, and committee chairs receive an additional $100 to sit as chair. This amount is subject to taxes, and the result, at least in my experience, has had this amount equating to the gas money I use to attend these meetings. The position of counselor and mayor are therefore essentially a volunteer position.
Thank you. Could you send that to us?
We may have to send it to you.
Actually, you
I got it.
yeah, okay. Never mind, we got it.
Yeah.
Personal
I
statement.
have a question. Under new business, are we still
We
there?
just, yeah,
We
we
still
still
add
have,
to the agenda.
we still have two more.
Oh, do we? Okay.
There is a personal statement from Catherine.
I'll redact.
Okay, so you're dropping that. And then the last one was CCBF meeting, and that was Trish.
Oh, yes, sorry. I'm like, the initials are like still like, gas tax, right, you can't call it
Was that
that.
what that is?
Yes,
Yeah.
right? If you say
Yeah, but-
gas tax,
Where
I'm
have
like,
you
oh,
guys been for about
yeah.
6 months?
It's just not called that anymore.
I know, and I still, it's gas tax. So, I'm adding something else onto that. So, the meeting that was scheduled for August 28th,
Next
and for
Wednesday.
next Wednesday, that we were to have that meeting, I need to ask that we can change that meeting due to a personal family circumstance that I am not able to make it.
We can certainly do that if committee members are in agreement. What I can do is contact the committee members to find out what date works for them.
And I think that we need to do that initially as well, whenever we want to schedule it, because I don't recall.
It was in meetings, which
Yeah,
I did, just found out tonight too.
Yeah,
It's been scheduled for about 3 months.
no, but this is.
Anyway, I guess.
Yeah,
okay,
no, I was finding it out for the first time when I got the agenda on Friday.
Okay,
Felt like.
okay. Thanks for that clarification. It felt like.
Yeah.
Okay.
probably.
So I will contact committee members to find out what day works for them.
Awesome. Thank you, committee members. Before we jump to yours, just as I'm speaking, something that was, I can't remember if it was Catherine or Lynn, I'm sorry. Actually, Lynn, it was you. The 70-mile yard sale. Ashley, do we have an ask for the RCMP to help with?
I have already put that call in.
Amazing, thank you. I
Yes,
figured
there's
you
going to
would,
be more
but-
patrol officers in the area,
Okay.
and they'll be circulating the
Helping with
community,
traffic
and,
and
yeah.
keeping us
So
safe.
they are aware as of probably 2 weeks ago.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you. I knew you'd be on top of that, but it just popped in my
Yeah,
head,
it's a
so,
huge concern of mine too, so,
thank you.
yeah.
Guys, that's it, I'm done.
Thank you, Trish. I have a question about our yard lighting here. Last Wednesday, when we left this meeting, that place was in complete darkness. It was a bit of an issue, and it looks like it's in complete darkness now.
We didn't pay our rent.
We have already spoken to Todd at White Act.
Good, all right.
And the lights are on a timer, they are supposed to be open, or they're supposed to be on. For whatever reason that they're not, we'll check into it and find out why they're not,
Okay.
but they are definitely supposed to be on.
Yeah, there's a lot of people left here in the dark the other
Yeah.
night. All right, thank you, that's all. What's next?
17.
Regular A? A we went through.
A is
It's
capital.
been postponed to a
To
later
be
date.
determined.
Our CCBF Gas Tax Committee meeting has been postponed to a later date. And our regular council meeting is September the 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Wood Islands Market upstairs in the meeting hall. Resumption of RMB official plan and development bylaw discussions September 21st, 2024 at 7 p.m. Wood Islands Market upstairs at the meeting hall. And now I
That'll
have,
be the end of our regular meeting.
Can I just clarify for those that may not have been paying attention? So there is
Trish?
no annexation committee meetings occurring moving forward.
Correct.
All discussions will take place at regular council meetings.
Correct.
And can I also clarify, earlier you said September 19th for the lands?
I did,
It is
that was,
actually
18th.
September 18th, thank you. Enough.
Okay, this concludes our regular scheduled meeting. We're now going into in-camera for a confidential HR matter.
Bye,
So, this would be a good time.
Goodbye,
to
Facebook. Thanks for
Goodbye,
everyone for coming.
Facebook. And also